Hey everyone, this is smpratte, and today we have a little bit of a different video. We're going to talk about an actual business that recently closed its doors. I think this is a great example to show how difficult it is to open up a hobby shop right now and just continue that ongoing discussion about all the recent trends in the hobby. So the store that recently closed of the business was TCA Gaming, the Charizard Authority, otherwise known as Rusty. Rusty's someone I've known pretty much as long as I've been in this hobby. He's the epitome of a stand-up guy. He has an unbelievable work ethic. I mean, I remember one time we were just casually talking and he told me he did 200 packages over the weekend. I mean, his work ethic makes you feel insecure about, yourself. You need to step up your game. So he is just phenomenal. I mean, his work ethic, his feedback speaks for itself. I think he has like 25,000 positive feedback and like one negative. And I think even that negative was a competing business, trying to tarnish his name. So I emphasize all this because he's not just your average Joe who's like, you know what, we're going to open up a store. Someone who has a little bit of pocket change and is like, let's do it. Let's open up a hobby shop. Like, this guy is an A-plus student. He had just phenomenal work ethic, over the top experience, and he had the capital as well to get this going, and it still didn't work. So I wanted to use his store as a just metric or barometer right now for everything that's going on in the hobby. There's a huge internal structure issue right now for distribution in Pokemon, which I want to talk about. I mean, a lot of people who watch Magic, the few cross collectors here who watch Magic, understand this very well. Not only is there product saturation, there's just a huge flaw in how distribution is set up. So to give you some numbers or some specifics behind that, some private information, my distributor messaged me the other day. They sent me an email and said, hey Scott, buy the Ultra Prism boxes. They're coming out in February. And they gave me their price. And I just politely grabbed all of the links from stores that are offering it to less than what they're offering it to me. And, for most consumers, they're like, okay, what's the big deal, right? It's not a big deal. There's someone out there getting a better price. What it used to be for distribution before about 2016, evolution, somewhere in there were set rates per quantity. So let's say you spent 50 grand in a year with your distributor, 100,000, $250,000, whatever it is, you got a set rate per box. And it was very, very minimal in the discount. I mean, we're talking literally dollars here. It'd be like $1 off if you spend $100,000 with your distributor. So at the end of the day, the price point has changed just drastically. I think right now what's going on internally is let's make a deal. There is no structure. You don't have the set rates anymore, because what the set rates did from distribution is it created a stable market. You had a price point that you would understand, where today it's just chaos. I mean, as a consumer, you're literally getting better rates than I do from my distributor. Like, some of these rates are like $4 or $5 under what distributors offer me boxes. So why am I telling you all this? As someone who wants to open up a business, especially around Rusty's size, that outfit, with that many employees, you have an impossible task of trying to acquire product. Your distributor should have an obligation to you as a business to sell cheaper so you can put that to market and make some money and survive and, take that strategic risk as business. But obviously numbers don't lie. You cannot negotiate with the fact that these stores are offering lower prices than your distributor. And to really paint a full picture here, if you are a business and to buy from these distributors, you need to establish yourself and show that you pay taxes, that you're a registered business, resale license, all that fun, exciting stuff that you have to do to even access those prices. So today, the internal distribution is just chaos. In fact, I would say it's putting new product in a position where not only is it uninvestable, it's detrimental. I mean, this is for most people. They're like, yeah, this is very obvious. If the prices are higher from distributor than they are at retail, how do you start up as a business? So the answer is you really have to be this high volume storefront. You need to have 20 plus employees, because the only way you could nullify these razor thin margins is to have a high volume, setup that can really run this product through your store. So to give you more metrics here, back in the day, the large stores did about 1,000 boxes. That was their purchase order. I remember, we're talking like 3 or 4 years ago. And I remember when I found this out, we're talking the biggest stores you can think of, okay? I remember talking to them and they're like, man, yeah, we do 1,000 boxes per set. And I was like, good God, 1,000 boxes is a lot of product. Some of the purchase orders today, one of the largest I've heard, 4,000 cases. That is 24,000 boxes. That's 24 times what these larger stores were doing 3 to 4 years ago. Like, that, Base Unlimited is like, did we just become shadowless? Like, Base Unlimited just became limited. I mean, there's no debate anymore that the product today, the product availability today, completely outshines and eclipses anything ever we've ever experienced. So there's just a little bit of data for you. This 24,000 box order. It's the largest I've heard, but it's occurring now with modern product. So therefore, this is why you have this let's make a deal mentality. That individual who contacts distributors are like, yeah, I want to order 4,000 cases. And they're like, we got to fill this order. We got to get this order. So let's make a deal. They just made up some new price point for this person or for these individuals making these massive purchases. So that is one major factor, and why someone like Rusty or a store of Rusty's size is struggling right now is because there's no way around this impossible scenario of trying to get a lower price. You literally have to buy from these large retailers because they're getting better margins or lower numbers than your distributor is going to pay or offer you. The other aspect is the bulk market crash. Rusty told me that before this bulk market crash, he could pay his overhead with just the bulk, business model. Which, for those who aren't aware, most storefronts need to do bulk to survive. It's their backbone. You need to do it, and you need to hire employees to take in all the bulk, sort it out, repurpose it as lots, and that's how you basically bankroll your storefront. So after the bulk market crash, he told me, he's like, yeah, it's just a warehouse now at this point with employees, and it's very unfortunate because I went over the bulk market crash in another video, and I talked about how it's a combination of the saturation. I mean, if you conceptualize 24,000 boxes compared to 1,000 back in the day, that's this massive wave of product. So therefore, inherently, it's going to saturate and lower the price point per bulk. But also the element, I know we're tired of talking about it, but the fake cards is another aspect. In fact, Rusty was the person who really brought that to my attention. He was the one who told me, he's like, yeah, a lot of the buyers for bulk are just going over to the fake stuff, or some of them are, some of the kids are. So at the end of the day, when people are like, I don't see an immediate effect from fakes. Here's a literal, real example of how someone had to close their doors. And to really give you a full perspective here, Rusty didn't have to do the physical storefront. He was perfectly fine just doing his online shop. If anything, he created opportunity and created jobs. I actually know some of the people, or he mentioned a couple of the workers that worked there, and it's like he provided people that perhaps were struggling with employment or couldn't really find their footing. He provided them with opportunity. And because of all these combinations of the internal structure right now just being completely bonkers in Pokemon and Magic as well. It's just let's make a deal. Whoever has the deepest pockets of Olive right now just greases it up and gets the best price. Because of that, and because of this compounded aspect of the bulk market crash, fake cards, this is why these stores are struggling. And, I talked about it theoretically before, and here is your real metric to look at. And like I said, he's someone who could just easily keep his online store going and be fine, but he chose to take that strategic risk and say, you know what, let's do a physical storefront. And beyond that, the guy, he'd bring in donuts every Saturday. It's like he had these great ideas about tournaments, like setting up these tournament structures. I remember he pitched this idea to the forum to E4 about doing this high roller thing in Vegas where you'd have like a tournament and you'd have a buy-in and you'd win like a massive, there'd be this prize pool, like of shadowless base boxes and things like that. Phenomenal idea. It's very, very creative and just what you want to have in the hobby. And there you go. There's a real example of how it's just the impossibility right now. The only way you can really set up a store today is through, a massive storefront. Like I mentioned, you got to have a huge amount of employees, or you have another business where you just want to funnel capital into a hobby shop for fun, for literally a hobby. So those are your really main two ballparks today. We've gone full circle. Back in the 90s, you had to be a big store, and then it got splintered by the internet era, and now it's really gone full circle to cater to the high volume operations. And the takeaway, for collectors and things like that for the market here, the thing to consider moving forward is, what is this going to do to modern product in 3 years from now? This is redefining modern product as we know it. I gave you the data on 1,000 boxes was one of the larger purchase orders, 3 years ago or 4 years ago. And today we have someone buying 20 times that much product today. So what is that going to shape modern product moving forward? We're already at an unprecedented low for sticker prices, and I don't know how it's going to change. For people who are just holding their breath, whether it's Ultra, Prism, or whatever new set's coming out, and they're talking about all the playable cards, it's like, guys, people just keep reordering this. You can't keep reordering exclusive product. In fact, that's the key takeaway, is if you're thinking about getting a chest tat, or you need to go to your home and rip down Live, Love, Laugh, replace that with exclusive, exclusive, exclusive. If the product is not exclusive, there's nothing to grab onto. And that's what businesses need to survive today. You need to have your shadowless high-graded cards or your exclusive Japanese promos or whatever it is, because that is the name of the game, period. And in fact, my prediction is in the next couple years, anyone who blindly threw capital into modern product is going to start blindly throwing it into old product, because even if you aren't reflective, you're hitting the right target because it's inherently exclusive. It's inherently limited. Where with modern, it's just throw all this money at distributors and they're just going to keep doing, let's make a deal, and it's just going to keep, they're going to keep saturating the market because it's all about the bottom line. So this thing with Rusty is a great canary in the coal mine scenario. For those who aren't aware of that analogy, in coal mines there's a canary, and usually because its lung capacity is tiny, whenever it faints, we'll say for Pokemon's sake, whenever it faints, that means the cave is poisonous and they need to evacuate. A less morbid analogy for Rusty is that he's someone who is more aware of the market. So he recognizes these patterns quicker than I think a lot of other people will. I think a lot of people who got into this through enthusiasm are going to have a wake-up call 6 months from now or a year from now because there's going to keep being this debilitating loss. Like Rusty realizes it's a systemic issue. And again, for online, perfectly fine because you don't have the overhead, you don't have the same cost. But for someone who's like, you know what, like a couple of the Patreon calls I did, for those individuals listening, this is something you really cannot achieve through simple enthusiasm and hard work. Because again, Rusty's that guy who has it all covered. He marks everything off the checklist, and it still didn't work. So there you go. That's pretty much everything I have for this scenario. Hopefully this example gave you something to think about. Even as a collector, the struggle today is, when should I buy? Because it's becoming so thrifty for these new sets. And the problem we're facing is, I think a lot of people are, I wouldn't say a lot of people, but a certain category of serious collectors are really picking petals with sun and moon. They're really like, do I want to buy this box? Do I want to collect this? And I think it's very disheartening as a consumer when you buy it right out of the gate and then you see like 5 months later, this product is just so cheap. Because again, 24,000 boxes is an actual purchase order. That's not fiction. That's a confirmed purchase order. So that's one business, and I'm not implying that numerous businesses are buying at that level, but if you have one business buying at an unprecedented level, 20 times what the larger businesses were before, it's just reshaping the market that we know it. So my warning that I'm giving to people from this, like the canary in the coal mine thing, is that this is a new era that we're walking into. It's unprecedented. We've never experienced anything like this. Even Base Unlimited, it's not even close. Like Base Unlimited is inherently shadowless now. It's not even close to what's going on. And Base Unlimited is a great example for people who are holding on to this idea of Guardians Rising or Burning Shadows is going to appreciate 10 years from now. It's like, okay, we're going to have to wait longer now because there's so much more product. Look at Base Unlimited. It's literally the first set ever printed. Obviously, it's unlimited, but it's literally Base Charizard, Blastoise, all of it, the most iconic cards in sets right there. And they're extremely affordable in PSA 10 condition. They're extremely affordable in general today, and it's almost 20 years later from the original set. So how long are you going to wait with this new product? Is it going to be the same with Base Unlimited? No, it's going to be less desirable than that era, and there's more of it. So you put 2 and 2 together, and it just doesn't look promising for anyone who's holding out. Or some people would take it away and like, oh yeah, I'm tired of hearing about the investment angle. But this is also for businesses. Without the business model structure, without our physical storefronts, we don't have this hobby. In fact, going back to that issue of saying, well, I don't really mind the issues of fake cards, out of sight, out of mind. It's like, yeah, if you eat cake once a day, just once every once in a while, that's probably fine. But if you eat it every day for a year, what's going to happen? You're going to be unhealthy. There's going to be an unhealthy ramification from that. Just like a market. If you're constantly putting money into illegal product or counterfeit goods, that's going to damage the actual reputable people. And Rusty is that example. Not only is he that example, he is a pillar in this hobby. In fact, why a lot of people can operate the way they do is because people like Rusty or whoever it is who's been around a long time who really established the foundation for opportunity for others to walk on. Like without him being committed and all the other guys who were first to market, really committing to this hobby and establishing a foundation, we wouldn't have the opportunity we have today. We wouldn't have the establishment we have today. So that is slightly being chipped away. That pillar of Rusty is being slightly chipped away because of these combinations of internal structure right now at Pokemon, and also, the issue of bulk market and fakes. So there you go. That is the real example. That's pretty much everything I can throw at you. It's just yet another barometer for anyone who is considering modern product as a long-term move. I'm not doubting that there'll be growth at some point. I'm not doubting that, you know, one day it'll increase, but we're going to wait so long. It's unprecedented. These numbers, hopefully those numbers really delivered, because these numbers are something, they're just unimaginable. Like 24,000 boxes, that's like, it just sounds like fantasy land. It sounds like a video game. It's like Rosebud and SimCity. It's like, did someone hack this? Like, did someone just, whatever, cheat and add zeros? It's like, this is an insane amount of product. Nothing has ever come close. So there you go, guys. And, you know, my heart goes out to people like Rusty and any other storefront that's watching. So, you know, keep fighting the fight and keep strategizing and figuring out ways to survive. But if you have any questions, as usual, let me know your thoughts. Till next time.